An escrow. Joe, you're.
I'm an agent.
Don't stand up.
I'm late coming in. Hi, my name is Amber. I work for Rivergate Realty and I specialize in foreclosure. That's all I do.
That's real good.
Thank you.
So,
My name is Joe Romano. I work with Keller Williams out in Northfield and I specialize in short sales.
good.
I'm Ernestine Mason. I work for Detroit Market Center. I do
Okay.
everything.
Good. Good. And I'm with Budget Realty, and I'm doing a lot with seniors right now, and I'll talk about that. So, and I'm an active investor too. So who do we have in here that would fix a house or board one up or help?
That would be me.
That'd be you.
My name is Daryl Burke, and I'm in the property preservation. And for you all that don't know what that means, when the banks foreclose on the property, they'll call a company like us, and we'll come out and winterize, resecure, or initial secure, I should say, or if necessary, resecure, and do grass cuts and make sure the property is ready for conveyance.
So if I was an investor and wanted somebody to cut my grass, you would quote me
Yeah.
on quoting all my yards or
Yeah, I
whatever?
quote you a initial price, and twice a month come back. Yeah.
So you would be the person, the realtor, talk when they do like a BPO or a foreclosure or something?
Yeah, because my family members also own a grappling truck, a bulk pickup truck. So, yeah, we can handle quite a few different avenues, yeah.
Okay, so mortgage. Who's in the mortgage business?
Right here.
So,
Hi, I'm Kelly Farrell, and I'm with Classic Mortgage Solutions. We specialize, that's all we did, that's how we started doing investor financing. So I can pass on my card. You guys there's still financing available. Yes, the lenders and the market has fallen apart, but like you said, people are still buying and selling. And yes, we do have rehab loans. So there's still quite a few avenues available for financing property.
FHA?
Yeah, well, yeah, FHA as well.
so who am I missing? Just stand up and say what you do.
Robert McGee, I'm the appraiser.
That's right.
All appraiser.
All right.
Very, very important person to know. Yeah. Right over here, there's a thing that says business cards. So when we take a break, everybody put their business cards out
For
there.
those who don't have business cards, don't you worry, we'll get you done.
Yeah. Okay.
Joe, no.
So there's certain people when you look in the market right now that are doing really, really well. And we've got one guy, we got this internet class. He comes beeping into the class every week. His name's Terry. And he is buying large volumes of distressed REO properties. And he is selling most of those properties to out-of-state buyers. And he's also selling a lot of them to individuals. And what he's doing, he's buying the properties he's buying are, I would call it lower end properties, but a lot of them are in really good shape. And when you start looking at what an REO is going for today, REO means real estate owned. It means it's a foreclosed property. She works as a real estate agent
Yes.
handling foreclosed
Yes.
properties.
Yes.
So the slang term in the industry for her would be an REO agent. So that's how, if you're at an investor meeting, they say, I'm dealing with an REO agent. She is an REO agent. So,
We need to talk to, we need to talk.
okay, so what he's doing is he's buying from REO agents. He's buying them for $2,500, $300, $400. He's then reselling them to homeowners and investors, and some of them are in pretty good shape. And he'll say, you can move into this house with $1,000 down or $800 down,
Is he
and
actually
payments of
selling them to
$250.
homeowners?
He is. Yeah, the ones that are in good
Buyers?
shape, better shape. And then he's selling a lot to out-of-state investors. So what I'm saying is you need to look at your market. Like right now, if you were looking at the market and you wanted to get into the investing business, what are some occupations that you could do that would be pretty good right now? A rental agent would be a pretty good occupation because property management is a really good business right now.
Yes.
Right.
So you got to really look at what happens in the market. The market shifts. You need to be able to shift with the market. And I was a wholesaler, and I was selling mostly to local investors. And I was the guy that put the signs all over the street that said I buy houses for cash. And then I would get those calls and I would sell to local investors. That market dried up for me. because the local investors quit buying, the ones that I was working with. And I have a list of 8,000 investors that I can do an email broadcast out to. But most of that business for me dried up, so I had to look to see what do I need to do different, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So what the agenda is for tonight is we're going to talk about marketing, how I was doing it with bandit signs versus using the internet today. And we're going to talk about, because if you're going to bring in an out-of-state buyer, how do you bring them here?
Not with bandit sign.
Not with a bandit sign. You got to start looking at the internet. We're going to talk about buying and holding property is either a rental or rent to own. I'm going to get into how you can maximize your cash flow and put the tenant at risk. I'll say that again. Put the tenant at risk with a rent to own. There's a way you can do that. So we're going to cover that tonight. I'm going to talk about subject to or deed offs and short sales, and Joe's actively doing that. And your customers recently have been coming to you. You're generating business off the internet now, right? So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about wholesaling properties to out-of-state buyers, because that's where a lot of the buyers are coming from. Like, how do you go find those buyers? And we're going to talk about reverse mortgages. And we're going to talk about how everybody thinks of a reverse mortgage as somebody that's owned their house for 30 years, right? And now they're ready, they're a senior, they need some extra money, or they need an annuity coming in, so they go get a reverse mortgage. And HUD does a reverse mortgage, which means they give them the equity in their home, and the senior doesn't have to make payments anymore in the house. They give them either a monthly payment, or they give them a lump sum money. But what they're doing is they're looking at how old the senior is, and they're looking at an actuarial table saying that the senior's going to live to be this old, and they're speculating that the senior won't live past that. So there's no house payments. But I'm going to talk to you tonight about, with our market, there's an opportunity that you can actually buy houses from an REO agent low enough that you can turn around and resell to a senior that's 62 years or older on a private mortgage, and within 2 months they can do a reverse mortgage and get you cashed out. So we're going to talk about how you could do that. And then the senior's in the property with no house payments. And we're not talking about seniors that are lived in a house for 30 years. We're talking about giving a senior a house where they end up with like 40% equity in the home and no payments. So that's a win-win for everybody. So
Yeah, we got to do that.
okay. Then we're going to talk about extremely challenged properties, and people in this market are not taking advantage of REO agents. Some REO agents don't realize this too. Mortgage companies will deed off properties right now. They'll just deed the property to an investor. They'll actually pay the REO agent a commission to do that.
Okay.
Or you can buy it for the $100 or the $1, but you've got to start asking the asset managers that the REO agent's dealing with for those properties. So those are also something that people are stepping over. So if your property costs $0,
Right.
you can sell it. You can sell that property on terms, right?
Yeah.
Is there a huge market for people that want to buy on seller financing? There is. So we're going to talk about that. And this slideshow was created where I was doing, what I do is I do a joint venture program where I actually train people in what I'm talking about. They pay me a bunch of money, then when they do a deal, we actually share in it. And this was one of the training slide projectors that I took. So I took out all the sales stuff, but there's a couple things I left in because I just wanted to hammer some points home. So, bandit signs. So that's how I made a living with bandit signs. Now I really learned some really big lessons with this. One time my son, I started getting a lot of phone calls, so I gave it to my son and I said, I'll give you $2 for each one of these you put up. And he put 5,000 signs up. And guess what happened to me? I got to talk to every police station, and he didn't discriminate. He hit every city in the Tri-County area, all at one time. So I was arraigned 18 times in the 36th District Court. I was arraigned in Inkster 18 times. I mean, I thought my world was coming to an end because he put signs everywhere you shouldn't put signs. So if you ever elect to do bandit signs, you will not get in trouble, but you need to put them up where you're not going to be messing with anybody. You need to put them at the end of a commercial area. You don't want to put signs up where there's a bunch of other signs. You want to really be cautious. If you use your head, you'll never have a problem. I never ever had a problem after that. And if somebody calls you and says you put a sign by my property, you need to get in your car and go drive, take that sign down. And if you want to get bandit signs, the cheapest place to buy a bandit sign is a website called supercheapsigns.com. Supercheapsigns.com. And for signs like that, if you buy them like at 100, they'll probably be about $1.25 a sign. And when you buy signs like that, you want to make sure that you put a sign on a pole. You want to make sure the corrugation and the plastic goes across so the wind won't snap it. This sign's not a good sign. Okay? So that's a great. Oh, the phone rang off the hook. I mean, got good signs, and then in this market, if I was putting up right now, if I was putting up signs, well, right now, if I was putting up signs, I'd put up a sign that said, "No more rent or no more house payment. 62 and over qualify," and then because I'm looking for buyers. The person who rules the market here is the person who owns the buyers. And I'm doing that 2 different ways on the internet. I have a website called The Quick Home Finder. I have 300 people that come to that site every day. 30% of them save it as their favorite site, and allows them to go in and search the internet without any realtor's help. And I do that by using the internet to drive traffic to it. I do press releases, I do classified ads. That's what the internet class that I teach at the college is all about, is how to take whatever your business is, if it's the board up business, if it's grass carrying, so when somebody types in lawn maintenance Detroit, his name will pop up, and that's what we teach in that class, is how to get yourself to pop up. And the cost for getting yourself to pop up is 0. So, and then everybody used to use the telephone, right, book to find something. Now what do? You go into Google and you type in what you want, and that's where you go. So you want to really start, if you're not on the internet, it's not a hard thing to do. You can get on there and start generating business. Joe, there was a 30-week class, twice a week we met, so 15-week class. And that's where you're getting your business now for the short sales. All of my business comes off the internet. I have a real estate club that meets on the 15th of every month. We generate most of our business, the new people that come to that club meeting, off the internet, because if they type in real estate club or real estate investing, we pop up on the first page of Google 3 or 4 times, and that's where the traffic comes from. So if you're in an appraisal business, if I do the class this summer, I can show you how to, you're the only appraiser popping up. So it works, that's what I got to say. So what you want to keep about the internet, and I'll show you how a couple different sites to use and how to get yourself up there tonight too. But you want to create a team. Like, so next Friday, if you can come to that, or next Thursday, if you can come to the internet meeting, you'll find local people here that really know what they're doing around the internet, and there's like supporting each other to get the business going. So if you're in this market now, buying and holding rentals would be the way to go too, because think about this, what you were paying for a rental property 6 months or a year ago was a lot of, they were high dollars. Now, let me see, I grabbed one today that, if I got it here, I'm not sure. sure. No, I don't. It was a 3-bedroom, bath and a half, brick. It would probably comp at about 80,000, needed no work on the inside. It was bought for $14,500. So those are the kind of deals you're seeing. So
How much work did it need?
it didn't need any work.
What city is this?
Detroit,
Detroit, what area?
No money.
it's all over. That's, people don't realize how the values have dropped, and you can get some incredible deals. So you want to get to know REO agents, and an REO agent doesn't want you, like I'm a realtor, so if you hired me to go talk to her, she would not be real impressed with that. Why would she not be impressed with that? Because I'd be wanting half the commission. So once you find an REO agent, you want to go straight to that REO agent. They want to see that you can actually perform, so you want to just close one deal with them. And once they see you buy one property and you're successful, then they'll be calling you with the deals that they get. So that's how you want to develop a relationship with an REO agent. If I was buying property in this market, we just talked about how low you can buy it. What I used to say was you need to buy it you need to buy something at 65% of what it would appraise at. So that was after all your rehab, your holding costs, and everything else. In our market, you can do it way less than that now. So, so the other way that I'm doing stuff in this market is with options. And I'm doing it 2 ways with options. One is where you can option something and control it, where you're actually going out to buy a property and you want to option it. And the other way you use an option is with a rent to own. So we're going to talk about that. So if you don't know what an option is where you give somebody the exclusive right and privilege to buy a piece of real estate at a certain price and terms. So when you hear rent to own, right, what the landlord's doing, he's saying, I'm going to give you this property, but I'm going to give it to you at a certain price and terms, and you have the exclusive right and privilege to buy that. Nobody else can come along and buy the house. So, and then there's 2 people when you do an option. There's the person that gives the option, that's the optionor. That would, in other words, if it was a rent to own, that would be the landlord. And then there's the person that's purchasing the property. If it was a rent to own, that would be the tenant. They're called the optionee. So the benefits of using this as an exit strategy is, one, if you can buy the house for $14,000 or $15,000, right, and it's in good shape, that would be, or let's say $20,000. So if I had a $20,000 house, I don't even know now, on a mortgage, could you get a mortgage that low right now?
Maybe.
Could you?
Usually like to try to do about
40? So what you've got is you've got something with a low monthly payment. Now when you get into the rental business, you're doing really well. And if the house appraises at 80, what do you know when you do a rent to own? If somebody's going to do a rent to own on a TV, are they concerned about the price of the TV? They're not. So when you put an ad in the paper, rent to own, people are not concerned about price. What are they concerned about? The monthly payment, exactly. And the other thing you know is they're going to only have a certain amount of money to put down. But price is not the issue. So if I was going to be an investor in this market right now, and my strategy was to buy properties, my strategy would be to do rent to owns. That would be one of my strategies, okay? And what I'm really looking for is I'm really looking for somebody that already qualifies for a mortgage. Because what happens, and I can speak to this because I've experienced a bankruptcy, okay? When you've gone through a bankruptcy and foreclosures, which that's happened to me, after that happens to you, you think the whole world knows that. People box themselves in and they think they can't buy a home. But can somebody that's been in foreclosure buy a home, and how fast can they buy that home if they've been into foreclosure and if they've been in a bankruptcy?
3 years.
3 years. And you can buy 1 day out of a bankruptcy. If you don't have a foreclosure, you can buy a home. So What happens is people don't think that they qualify, or they think they've got hospital bills. If you've got hospital bills, can you go out and get a mortgage? You can't. So what you're looking for when you're doing the rent to own, you're looking for the people that really want to have ownership, but they don't really realize that they can buy that property. Then you want to work with a mortgage person. You make that mortgage person your coach. So you're going to be shipping your buyers to that mortgage broker, and she's looking to see, well, can you get them qualified? Mark, you could sell the house to them. You're going to need to carry back a second. Mark, you're going to need to do this. I don't really care if I got to carry back a second mortgage or what I've got to do, as long as I'm going to make some money, right? And when I get the sale done. So I'm looking for her coaching. Now, how do you put them at risk? That's the question. So let's say we bought the house for $20,000. Is that possible in this
Yes.
market? And would it be possible for that house to appraise for $80,000?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. The appraiser's not going to say anything. He puts tape over his mouth and things like this. You want to know an appraiser, a good appraiser. So now, if the house appraises at 80, I could afford to carry back a 20% second with no problem, right? And now I want to make sure that tenant's going to pay me. So the mortgage person and myself are going to explain to the tenant that I need to get 10% down. That's $8,000. Now, is the person on a rent to own going to have $8,000? They're not going to have $8,000. Not going to happen. So 800. Okay, so let's say they've got 800. So now I'm going to, let's say they got 1,000, because I can do these numbers in my head. So we're going to say now I need, and the mortgage person's going to help me, because the mortgage person knows how much they can actually pay without hurting, right? And what you want to do is create a motivational environment for them to buy the house. In fact, really what I want to do is just convert them into buyers. She's going to tell them they're very lucky that they're working with Mark Maupin, because what I can get him to do is to pay all your allowable closing costs, and he wants to get $8,000 down, but I will get him to take a note for the difference. That's going to be option consideration. So I'm going to get first I'm going to get the first month's rent. I'm going to get no security deposit, and then I'm going to get the $8,000 in option consideration. Option consideration is non-refundable. So they're obligating themselves to that house. So if they're short on the money, I'm going to take a note. So I'm going to take a note for the $7,000. She's going to figure out what the maximum amount they can pay. It might be $200 a month, it might be $300 a month. So now I'm getting market rent. I'm getting an extra $200 or $300 a month, right? In option consideration, which is all getting applied towards the purchase price. If they decide to walk away from the house, do they walk away from the note? No, they still owe that note. So now you've put yourself in a position that if they do need to move away from the house or something, you know, because life comes at you, stuff happens. If they need to move, they're going to work with you to find somebody else to put in the house. And you have really good communication. Biggest mistake landlords make is they don't communicate well when they put tenants in the property. My wife's a school teacher. She drove me crazy because she would read the leases to the tenants. I couldn't stand that. I would be out of my mind after 30, 40 minutes. But when all the tenants that she worked with, I never had a problem. And they all, because they were well communicated with, and they understood. Same way when you do a lease option, you need to walk them through. And you need to explain to them that they're at risk. You need to walk through that whole process. And if you've got a good tenant, you know, bear in mind you've got to have a nice house to do this. So that's how I would do this market right now.
That's just one option, one way to do what?
One way. I'm going to give you a bunch of strategies. So in this market, I would do buy, and if you're going to rent, I would prefer to do a rent with an option, because you're going to get above market rents because you're picking up that note payment, you're putting the tenant at risk, and you have a strong potential to be able to actually sell them a property. And a lot of those properties still won't sell.
What if you don't want to rent, just want to find a buyer?
That's actually what I'm doing. I'm really looking to find a buyer. So if she's done her job right with me, she'll actually find one of those people will qualify with a 20% down, because I'll get real creative on the way I do that mortgage. Not breaking any laws, but doing seller financing combined with mortgage financing. But you got to have somebody that's why these meetings are so important. You got to have a mortgage person that understands what you're doing. But if I can't find anybody, I still need to rent the house, you know. 'Cause
Right. I'm just saying
I
finding
can't-
a qualified buyer.
Mhm.
Like, I know that's a process to use to that person to get to the point where they can buy it, but are there qualified buyers out there looking to purchase?
There are. That's why I've got the quick home finder that says that people can go in and look at as many houses they want without being hassled by a realtor. Now, how do I take, because then what they do is they actually go in and find houses that they want to buy, and then they call the realtor that they found in my quick home finder. So now I've lost them, right? So now what I've done in Michigan, some of the realtors won't like me for this, but what I'm doing now is I'm doing what's called a Redfin model. I'm telling those people that I will give them back 25% of my commissions at the time of closing, and it actually is going to pop up and show them exactly, if they're looking at this house, how much money they're going to get back at the time of closing. It's illegal in the state of Michigan now. So now, if they decide to call the other realtor, they're going to see what they're getting back by using me. So it's a program designed to capture them. So that's one of the things I'm doing, but using the internet. So on a rent-to-own strategy, does everybody hear me okay? Because I got a mic. Everybody's good? Okay. This is a friend of mine. We got a Ford employee retiring, going out of state. He got his full settlement from Ford. He owned a rental property. I have a friend of mine, his name's Pat Winter. He said, and this has happened about 8 months ago, no longer than that. It was actually towards the end of last summer. So the purchase price to the tenant, he put a tenant in there, was $65,000. The owner of the property that owned this property deeded the property to Pat Winter, deeded it to him. He didn't change the mortgage or anything. He got rent for $600 a month. His rehab was $3,500, and his profit was $35,000 because when he deeded that property off, the guy paid him $35,000. He's moving out of state. He wanted out of the property, and he was willing to pay somebody to take the property over. So a lot of investors think that there's no opportunities, but if somebody paid you $35,000 to take a property over, and you just invested the money, and your rehab was that low, would that be a good deal? So this is a property on Stahalin, and this property was done about a year ago. The purchase price was $34,000. Stahalin's in Warrendale. So houses in Warrendale at a retail price today are, help me out, somebody.
Oh, no.
No.
REO prices.
No, not REO.
Joe said 25.
25,000 I just did.
For retail?
Yeah, retail.
Oh, wow.
Where?
Warrendale. What were we talking about?
What do you think?
Warren and Southfield.
I think it would be higher than that, Joe.
That's for a house right there.
55, 6 bedroom. Where is Warren?
Warrendale would be like Southfield, Freeway, and Warren. Yeah.
Well, you got a good deal. Can I have your
So what they're doing, I got a young couple, and they're doing this is they've established how to find people to do rent-to-owns, but they're pre-qualifying the people that they get for that. And she's working with refugees, political refugees from Africa. But they're doctors, they're attorneys, and she is getting them into rent-to-own situations. She's using exactly the program I talked about with the 10%, and she's locking them in, and she's using a mortgage person, and that's her whole exit strategy. And that's what they're doing today. That's their website and their name. It's Martin and Nee. And if you guys want to contact them, or if you want my PowerPoint, I'll be glad to email you the PowerPoint. But somebody will need to pass a list around the room. Somebody want to do that?
Can you just download it into something?
I can email it to you. Yeah. And she'll be glad to share with you how she does her whole interview process. It's exactly the formula I was talking about. So, you can also use an option to control property. How much money do you think you have to give somebody to offer them an option to control a property?
I gave $1.
$1, $5. Yeah, it's true. Because when you're, where you'd want to use this strategy is when you see a development going in. So like last year, we had a speaker come to this group, and Great Lakes Crossing, his name was Joe, was going in the mall, okay? And it was announced, so everybody knew about it. So it was nothing, he didn't have any great insight into it. But what he did was he got a clipboard and he went door to door in all the neighborhood around the Great Lakes Crossing, and he optioned the properties. And he optioned them by offering the people what they wanted and tied them up for a longer period of time. And he compiled the property. He walked away a year later with a little over $1 million. And he stood up in front of this room and told us all exactly how he did it. So if you get into, it's not an immediate gratification program, so you don't see like money. It's not like buying something, fixing it, or flipping it. But if you want to go in and control property or tie it up for a long period of time, you can option. And I used to use options when I had the signs up like that. I would go out and use options. If I didn't know what the exit was or I didn't have an exit in my head, I would just be really honest with them and I would option the property and still continue to market it because they weren't marketing it and I was giving them the commitment to market it. And that's why somebody would do that with you, is because you're willing to go to work on it. It's like being a realtor for them and going to work, except there's a big difference. The realtor doesn't have an option written out and doesn't have it against the house. If you have an option, if you've optioned somebody's house for a retail price, okay, for, let's say they want $70,000, and I've optioned that property for a year, and somebody else comes along and offers them $60,000, can they sell that house for the $60,000? They can't. They have to deal with my option. So,
Of course, it's not going to be 60.
well, you'd have to work it out with them or settle it. As an investor, when I've got a website that I have that we list other people's properties on it, what happens is you won't believe that some investors are unscrupulous. They'll go on the website and go right around you to the owner. What I would do is in my purchase agreement or my advertising agreement with them, I had the right to file a claim of interest against the property. So when I file that claim of interest, it doesn't do them any good to go around me because it's recorded at the county. They're going to have to deal with me. So you've got to have your paperwork put together properly.
You said that's on the option contract?
It's only an option. When we talked about a rent to own, that's a form of option. That's where the investor is getting it. But now I'm talking about me as an investor wanting to go option somebody's property. So if you knew something, if you're watching the planning, you can go on TV and watch the planning commission, and they've got a development going in over somewhere. If you want to go in with little to no money, you can go in and option the land all around there. It's not hard to do. You know, and people think in the commercial world that these deals, because I've been involved with some sales of commercial industrial property, you think that people would come in like these big companies, they put down big chunks of money. They don't. They'll show you that they've got a $10,000 deposit in their title company that they control, that if they don't go through with the deal, that the money reverts right back to them. And they'll tie the property up for not 1 year, they'll tie it up for 18 months. And that's a very standard way of doing the commercial industrial business. So it's nothing new, and it works in residential too. So we're covering a lot of stuff, so you're not going to, some of the stuff you're not going to be able to do it, but if you want to do it, then you talk to me and I'll tell you when we've got classes. Some of the stuff I'm going to be teaching a real estate investing class at the college. It's a 3-hour accredited class, so we break it down and it slows it up, and I'm going to be doing some of those this summer.
Now, you talking mostly about residential. Do you deal with multiple family, commercial apartments, 5+ units?
So
40+ units?
I'm probably not the best speaker on that subject, because at one point, the biggest commercial property unit I've ever owned was the 25 unit, and I watched a wrecking ball knock it down, so I wouldn't use me as a point of reference on how to get into that business. And then at one time, I had the bright idea, I'll own like, I had like 35 and 4-unit type apartment buildings. And I had a lot of them where I had efficiencies, because this is going back a few years. There was a thing called general assistance. They did away with the program. And I ended up converting a lot of those back into single family homes. That kind of stuff almost caused me to have a nervous breakdown. I'm not a, if anybody got multiples like that or experienced it, yeah. So that's been my experience. And most of the people I see that are successful at that are doing like 100 units and up, and they can afford a manager handling stuff. And when I say 100 units, I'm not talking about a 23 and 4 units. I'm talking about 100 units all combined in one thing, apartment.
Do the college offer anything like that?
And I'm not a good person to answer questions on that.
Are you talking
And do the college offer anything like that? 100+ units? Because that's what I'm into.
Well, if you're into that, all you got to do is tell Mark Lang, and he'll find a speaker to come in and speak here that'll address that.
Okay. You talking about some building with 100 tenants?
Yeah.
That's what you pay manager for. You pay the manager for.
So,
Manager.
for a while I was doing what they call deed offs. In other words, somebody's in foreclosure and they want to walk away from the property. I'd have them deed it off to me. Then I would control the property. There was certain opportunities in that, but now there's so much of that. I think that the only way to make money, like with the short sale process, is the realtor. And the realtor, how he makes money is he takes the property and lists it and he keeps dropping the price until he gets a buyer, subject to the bank taking that reduced payoff. And then, Joe, you're in the business, so you want to add like how, is that basically what you're doing?
Yeah, basically, it's not like a typical sale. It's a longer process. So if you're in the market to buy, you will get a good deal, but it takes about 3 to 4 months to complete one of those.
There's a firm in Farmington that what they do is they charge the owner of the property, if he's in foreclosure, if he comes in, they want to get $1,500 from him. And then what they're going to do is the owner needs to bring a buyer. It could be a relative or whatever. And then they negotiate the short sale. They're getting paid up front. They seem to be doing pretty good business with that. 1,500. But I'm not into that. I actually hate the short sale process. And there's a lot of different opportunities to make money in the complete foreclosure process. And what happens in a foreclosure process is this. Somebody quits making payments on the mortgage, and then they do that for about 90 days, and then they're going to get a notice that the bank sends them a letter telling them that they're going to foreclose. Then they're going to get it posted on the house. After it gets posted on the house, within about 45 days, they've got the sheriff's sale. And up until the time of the sheriff's sale, it's called pre-foreclosure, but when you have, there's the default, and then you get the notice, so that's called pre-foreclosure, and then when you have the actual sheriff's sale, you don't have the right, after that sheriff's sale happens, then you have to pay the full mortgage off. Up until this point, you can catch up all the payments and pay the lawyers some money. So there used to be an opportunity there to jump in, but the prices of houses were rising, and that's really not there today for a lot of people. And then post foreclosures, there's a 6-month redemption period, and if that, there's certain rules that say if the house is less than 50% paid down, then it's a 12-month redemption. If you have like more than 3 acres or 3.5 acres, then it requires a 12-month redemption period. And then what happens is at the very end of the foreclosure, after redemption period, you have to evict the people out of their home. So that's another 30 to 45 days. And then it goes to an asset manager at the bank and gets assigned to an REO agent.
Then we get.
Sure.
When can I get the house cheapest, in pre-foreclosure stage or in the REO stage?
In Rio, when it goes to the real estate agent.
Well, it used to be, I'm going to say used to be in the pre-foreclosure, you could get, the banks were most negotiable at that time. But now in Michigan, I would say you could negotiate all the way up till the end. And Joe could probably answer that better because he's actively out doing that right now.
Oh, you're talking about short sale?
Short sale,
Okay,
yeah.
That's true too.
But the best deal, to be honest with you, that you can get is right over here at the end of in the bank, and it comes back to the REO agent because those homes are going really, really low now.
You got to keep in mind, there's a difference between getting a house in foreclosure and pre-foreclosure. You get it in pre-foreclosure, most of the homes don't need any work. They're in top condition, they're still living in them.
Yeah.
So when you get them in foreclosure, you might not even find no plumbing, no furnace. So there's a big difference.
Big difference. Big difference. Might not find no
If you
windows.
wholesale a property from a REO agent, do you have to actually buy the property and then market it to anybody if you want?
You have to actually, when you're buying from an REO agent, you've got to go pay cash for the property and close on it.
I got a house with just taxes being paid on it, and they don't have no furnace in it. And I want to know, you was talking about how can you get money just to fix on a house without having to put a mortgage around it?
Yes, sir. Oh, without putting the mortgage on. You don't talk to her.
It's like that.
So, and then, but I can get 100%. I'm gonna get 100%, or I can get more than 100% if I, since I had a mortgage before, to refinance it.
There you go. Y'all get together and go over the specs. Go over the specs. Should tell you.
I don't know the answer. You really have to get with a mortgage person. And I don't know what kind of grant programs or if there's, I couldn't answer those questions. So, so on the wholesale end, and that's what I am, is I'm a wholesaler. I should say I was a wholesaler. I'm not doing as much of that right now. But how I would do that is I would do an assignment of a purchase agreement. When I had the signs up, I go tie a property up, then I would assign it. That was one way I could make money. I would do advertising agreements. If the homeowner wanted to list the house and put it on my website, I would do an advertising agreement. My advertising agreement allowed me to file a claim of interest against the property, so I secured my interest. And then I would do seller lead referral agreements, like if they didn't want it on the website, that I would just have them sign an agreement that if I brought them a buyer. And then I would do buyer, so I'd list the buyer too. So you need to sign your buyer up. So I had certain buyers that were looking for stuff, so I would have them sign referral agreements with me too. So, and then what I would use, this is what, an example of a wholesale website. It'll come up. It's Detroit Investment Homes. This is my website. And then what you do is we would put the properties on it, and then investors would come and take a look at it. I actually have somewhere between 5,000 to 8,000 investors on a list that I can email broadcast out, and I can, it gets a lot of traffic. I have not been working this website near as much as I used to because of the change in the market. And so how I'm doing stuff today is, let me see if I can, is more like this. This is how I would merchandise a single home. So this is what they call a squeeze page, okay, or a one-page website. And this is designed mainly just to capture somebody's email or to promote a house. So this is a house on Burt Road. And then it gives an after repaired value, it gives what their investment was, it gives what the repairs were, it gives the estimated rehab, breaks it down. Then what it does is it gives comparable sales. This is from January, so property values could have dropped on this one, okay? Then it gives all the comparable sales on other houses in that area and shows the sales. And so now the investor can look and see what the comparable sales are, what the rehab cost is, what everything is, and they can click on a link to get to it. So that allows me to go on the internet and use classifieds, press releases, all kinds of ways to drive traffic to that. It allows me to send an email broadcast out that just has a little line in it that says, if you want, you know, this is a property I've got with this upside to it, click here if you want to go see it. And that's how I'm merchandising and selling properties now.
You teach that class as well?
Internet marketing next Thursday, and then I'm teaching an internet marketing class right now that's ending. And I don't know if I'll be doing another one or not. Mark said there's about 30 or 40 people that were interested in signing up for it this summer for 5 weeks. So, but I don't know the status on it.
And that's the one that's 3 credit hours?
That one would be a credited class. I just don't know how many credited hours it'll be.
How much is the class?
A 3-hour credited class at the college, I think, is about $200, and you got to pay an extra $25 or something, so it's about $225.
2 questions.
Yes.
With the landing page, do you promote each property that you have, or you just promote one, you market one
I
property?
just promote one property. There's just one property. This is the property there.
And how much would a landing page cost to be created?
To pay somebody to go on the internet to do that, like that's called outsourcing, you would probably run you anywhere. So here's a website you want to write down. It's called Elance. Elance.com.
Spell it.
Help me out, Walter.
What?
Elance. How do you spell it?
E-L-A-N-C-E.
Yeah, just like that.
Right there. Thanks. So what Elance does is you say, I want to build a squeeze page, a one-page website, and you ship it out for people to bid doing that. And then what happens is the people that bid, they'll give you the prices. I'm guessing you'd probably be able to do one for $50 or $60 or less, okay? So, and you might be able to get a bunch of them done for even a cheaper price. So they come back and they bid it, but when they bid it, it gives all their rankings. It tells you all the other people they've done work for. It's kind of like eBay. You can see all the people they've done work for and see if they've got good rankings in that. And then when you pay that $50, you escrow the money with Elance. They don't get the money until the work's completed to your satisfaction. So that's a good website and a good place for you to go find out how to do that. Okay, so let's talk about how to find those out-of-state buyers. Free classifieds is one of the best ways. Craigslist is outstanding. So if I wanted to bring, if I knew that there was good out-of-state buyers in New York, LA, or certain cities, how would I use Craigslist? I would go on Craigslist for those cities and then advertise my properties there. Do you follow that? If I was going to advertise my properties, I would also go on a website called KIJIJI. And that's owned by a small company named eBay. That's eBay's free classifieds, guys. And the hottest website out there is a site called expolive.com. And that's expo, E-X-P-O, .live.com.
What do they do?
It's MSN's free classifieds. And there's another site called Hoobly, Hoobly.com. and that's a free classified. And that's how you would go to get out-of-state buyers, because you're going to post your properties in those other cities on those sites. And I'm going to divert this just for a second. I'll show you. If I can.
It's about 7:30, Mark.
Okay. Well, Walt, I don't know what I'm doing. No? Okay.
Well, you got this thing.
Okay, how many of you guys got small businesses in here? Okay, so this is really, really important to you. This is the power of classifieds. So we're going to do clock repair, that's small business. I'm going to do clock repair because I have a friend who was getting foreclosed on and was in the clock repair business and wasn't getting any business. He does not have a website. He does not know how to use email. He doesn't know anything about any of that. But all of his business today comes off classifieds in the internet. So if we do clock repair, Ferndale, we can do all kinds of cities. If we do a Google search, and you will need to take this to the real estate business too. So here it goes, the very first one says clock repair Royal Oak. Why do they call Fred Mr. Clock Repair? 35 years of experience, and see that's Expo Live. Expo Live is a free classified, and he's #1 in Google. #1.
Wow.
Come on, listen.
You do yourself.
Okay?
So
I don't-
there's a technique to become #1?
Well, the technique is this. What does the headline on the ad say? Clock repair, Ferndale, and Royal Oak. Do you see that? The headline holds a lot more value. So you type in clock repair, Ferndale, Royal Oak. So whatever you want to own on the internet. So today, I did 35 press releases for trash removal because I got hired by somebody to pay me $3,000 to put them at the top of Google for trash removal using free classifieds. He didn't care about how I get him there. He just wants people to go to the front page of Google, and he wants to not just own one category, he wants to be all over. So
teach us how you did that today.
I did. This is free classified. You just go in and put your ad in. And then see here what Fred says down here at the bottom. It says Fred for volume services, the following Oakland County, Auburn Hills, Berkeley, Birmingham, Bloomfield Hills, Clarkston. So now we type in Bloomfield Hills, he'll start to pop up. If we type in Michigan, if you need a clock repair in Michigan, he's going to show up too. So that's why the Internet Club, that's why I'm teaching the class at the college. And
Okay, so if everybody in here was into clock repair, we all can't be #1. So how do you?
that's because only 1% of the people in this room will do anything.
That's right. That's true.
Okay, but I'm saying.
I'm not trying to insult you, Mary, it's just a proven fact. And I'm not, and so
How do you make it where he comes up #1?
I just do math.
Just put it on there.
that's what I did. It was just that headline, clock repair Ferndale. MSN is a free classified. It's one of the most powerful tools on the internet. I'm telling you what I do. I'm giving you my secrets.
I know, but I'm confused because I still don't know how you make him come up as #1 as opposed to #4 or 5.
because MSN is the most powerful one of there's three major search networks. There's Google, there's MSN, and there's Yahoo. They're the most three powerful search engines out there. So the most powerful search engine out there has got clock repair, and I used it as my headline, clock repair Ferndale, so he comes up. But if
She's not understanding where did he initially put the ad, right?
He's saying that he uses all of this free classification. But again, I'm still saying if the first 3 people in this row all were into clock repair, how does he put that information on the internet so that I would come up first as opposed to this gentleman?
And she's on the first page.
because what I'm doing is, there's not that many people into clock repair Ferndale.
Okay.
And then, remember at the bottom of that ad, I said, Fred services the following communities. So I list every city in Oakland, Wayne, Livingston, and Macomb.
So if I type in,
So what you might type in Bloomfield Hills, in fact, we could do some of these. I just did Michigan clock repair, and he's not number 1, but he's number 2. But see, he's not number 2 with a pre-classified, he's number 2 with a free press release. See, he's also number 3. It says good old-fashioned service and clock repair is alive in Michigan. And then it says antique clock repair is alive and well in the counties of Wayne, and it starts listing the counties. And then when you go further down the page, but one of them's a press release, one's a classified. I can't get into how to do all that tonight, but I'm just saying you can do classifieds, and you can own the keywords, you make them your headline. So that's what you want to do. So what's your business?
the keyword, okay.
What's your business that you want to get up there?
Well, I'd like to get my name out there as a real estate agent.
Okay, so that's easily done. Okay?
Okay, so it was keywords, okay.
Yeah, and question?
You mentioned press, not a question. One thing I wanted to add was, I guess, one thing that I think helps is to kind of have some kind of, understanding of a little bit of how Google itself works. And,
Yeah.
The way Google works is it looks at the most popular, one of the ways anyways, some of the most popular sites. And Live, which is owned by Microsoft, everybody knows what Microsoft is. So if you put something on live.com, chances are it will probably show up as opposed to, I don't know, myhouse.com or something that nobody knows. So it's, if you put it on Yahoo or Yahoo Classifieds, Yahoo is a pretty popular site. People are going to Yahoo all day long, so chances are anything that's on Yahoo is probably more likely to show up on Google before some of the others.
See,
So those classified sections with Yahoo, they're free?
everything I'm giving you tonight is free.
Oh, free.
All those classifieds I'm giving you, they're all free classifieds. Free. To put you at the top of Google. But it does require work and energy to put the ads on there. Because today when I did that on MSN, I was like 4 hours doing that. So it wasn't like, that part wasn't free. I was busy working. So.
Now, would it allow you to put multiple ads in residence sometimes, you don't allow you to put multiple ads?
That's because I've done this enough. MSN will let you repost the exact same ad with a different headline more than once. Yeah. So now I've been banned from a lot of sites because I had no problem experimenting. With Hoobly, it'll put you at the top of Google too. With Hoobly, I was doing an internet convention. So what I did was I listed all the cities around in Michigan. And so if you typed in a city for Internet Convention League, it would pop right up. And then I thought, well, I'll just do all the cities in the entire United States. And I was still at the top, and you could type in all the major. And then I said, well, if that works, why don't I just do it for the entire world? And I went like 40 pages deep. My classified ad was 40 pages deep. I got banned. I got spanked. And Hoobly threw me off. And then I tried to email them and talk to them, and they wouldn't talk to me. So, but then I went and got a new email address, and I was back on Hoobly. But I didn't do that goofiness. I found out what the limit was. So, so how you get out-of-state buyers is you use the internet today. You bring the business back to the state. You know, we get the deficit coming back our direction. So now this is the way that I'm marketing today. I'm working with 144 seniors right now. 144 seniors. Now how did I find my seniors? I used the internet. I using bandit signs.
144?
Yeah.
And what period of time?
The last 2 months, 3 months, 2 months. How many months?
Since January.
Since January.
So when you get a senior to purchase a home, how many months worth of payments do they have to make before you suggest they file for that reverse?
They need to, here's the guidelines on when you're getting a reverse mortgage. This is the important stuff. When you buy a home, you can own it for 1 day and you can go apply for a reverse mortgage.
Okay.
1 day, so there's no seasoning requirements.
Okay.
So you have to have an investor that's willing to buy that house for the $20,000
Okay.
and be willing to put the senior in that house with seller financing.
Okay.
A senior cannot get a reverse mortgage if he has a federal tax lien or owes on a student loan.
Okay.
So you need to make sure they don't have a student loan or tax lien.
None of that.
Okay? They're not interested, the senior could be in foreclosure, the senior could have the world's worst credit. They're not looking at their credit. They have no interest in their credit. They're looking at an actuarial table, so you don't have a credit problem, you don't have a seasoning problem, and you're going to now do an appraisal, and HUD, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, HUD says that you can't comp the house off of REO properties. You have to comp them off of retail sales.
Okay.
Is that true?
So when you're doing an FHA appraisal, he has to take retail sales.
Is that accurate?
I say yes. Now, there's an appraiser, you can ask him. It's yes.
No, I'm saying that FHA, they don't look at,
They don't look at REOs.
Is that in writing and where?
Writing and where?
I thought that if they sent out their own appraiser, I thought that
They have to be a HUD certified appraiser. It's all off the appraisal and it's all off their age. So if you're 62 years old, okay, and the house appraises at $100,000, the senior can get a mortgage for $60,000. There'll be $8,000 closing costs. So it's going to be 52% of what it appraises for is what the investor could get paid off. Principal residence. So if it's in Florida, you need to be spending 6 months and 1 week at that house. It needs to be the primary residence.
Since you have 144, your issue has just been finding enough houses.
My whole situation, yeah, I need homes. I need bulk buyers. I need people with homes that want to get out. I've got the buyers.
So it's income qualifications, is FHA's like 30%?
No income.
No income qualification?
There's no income qualification. How's our time doing? What time is it right now? 8? Okay.
So they're coming in at the retail. I mean,
Yeah, the appraisal's going to be at a retail appraisal, but the senior's going to be buying it at
90%.
60% in this case, if they're 62 years old. If they were 90 years old, it would be a lot higher.
60% loan to value?
They're going to buy it at 60%.
No, I'm saying that if you got the house
Yeah.
for 20,000 or whatever, and it's appraising at 100,000,
Right.
they can be financed at 90% of the appraised value? Or
No.
less?
No,
60%. $60,000 will be the mortgage.
Okay.
They're going to walk away with 40% equity in the home.
So that's it.
thought they would have to be in the house at least a year.
Pardon?
I thought they would have to be in the house at least a year.
No. No. There's no, you're getting confused with the normal FHA where you're doing the buy and the flip. That's not what this is. This is a reverse mortgage. In other words, it's a refi.
So you can actually have them buy them.
You sell to them on a private mortgage, and they can immediately go in for a refi with HUD. And you could be closed probably within 45 days.
And HUD pays you off.
HUD pays you off.
Just like to get a house.
Pay you after 6 months.
Okay, so if with the house appraised at $100,000, if I was the investor, all I would have was $52,000, because there's $8,000 in closing costs. So, and if you go to, for those of anybody, what's the old folks website? What? AARP. ARP. It actually has a schedule on there and tells you exactly what those numbers work out to. Sorry. Long one. So
That's a great magazine too. If you have like a relative that gets it, steal it from them. I'm telling you. I love that magazine. I'm 30. Just saying.
So that means you have to go in and purchase.
You got to purchase it. You have to have an investor
to
fix it up and move the senior in.
Can you do that with a condo?
You can do it with a condo. You can do condos too. Do you guys want to take a break, and then we'll come back and talk about people just deeding properties off to you?
Yes.
You want to take? So let's take a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back. And you got to meet one person that you don't know. One more strategy for this market. So, asset managers that the REO agents work for, they have to get properties off their books. You've got to ask them for this. You want to ask for their deed offs, or you want to ask where you can go in and negotiate a buy for $100 for like 20 properties or something. And a lot of times they'll pay the REO agent a commission. And I just negotiated like 15 of them. I got 13 in Detroit, 1 in Pontiac, and 1 in Ohio. And so the cost of the properties is 0. And the one I went and looked at in Pontiac is in mint shape, all brand new windows, really nice home. I got, out of all those 13 in Detroit, I got 1 brick duplex that looks pretty nice. And I've got like 3 or 4 fire jobs, where the houses have burned. Because what they do is they bundle them up and they give them to you, the good, the ugly, they give you whatever they got. So you got to be able to take those. So now, how I've done properties like this, and I'll give you an example. Like this is like one that I didn't sell. I still got it. But I did over 40 of these in the last couple of years. And how we typically sell, and the quality of this batch that we just got is a higher quality than what we've gotten in the past. How I sell those properties is, if they're not selling with an REO agent, and sometimes the ones I'm getting, this 13, all the taxes are paid, the water bills are paid, everything's paid. But the ones I got in the past, a lot of times they had water bills dragging, taxes dragging. So I would take that property and let's say that the mortgage company had a property that's got $8,000 worth of taxes on it, and they've got it listed for $10,000 and it's not selling. So they would deed that property off to us, and then we would sell the property for $15,000, and we'd sell it within like 2 weeks. Now, how can we do that when an REO agent couldn't sell it? Was because I would put a sign, a homemade sign in the front of the house that said for sale. Sometimes I would spell it wrong. And then I would put land contract terms, and I would put $500 down, $250 a month, 8% interest. I would spell out that, and I would put $5,000, and then I would say plus water and taxes, if any. And naturally there was. When they called, I said, yes, there's water and taxes. But why was I able to sell that? It was because I was given seller financing. And they could go in for little to no money, get the house fixed up and get it refinanced. So there's a good amount of money to be made with getting deed offs.
And you have properties that maybe the city.
I've got 15 right now that I'll close on this month.
Refinance, or what's the house appraisal for?
These are, I don't know, I don't care, it's costing me nothing. The mortgage company's deeding it to my limited liability company. Okay?
Cost you nothing.
That's right.
And there's zero.
$100 maybe.
No, I'm not paying nothing. Zero. I'm going to the closing table. The REO agent's getting paid a commission on it. And the properties are being deeded to my entity. I've then got to go sell those. 3 of those properties had fires. And then there's some that are, there's like maybe 3 that are really decent properties. Okay?
What about the properties where the city is trying to attach, maybe a fee or some type of charge? So like, we got one that I'm trying to get rid of right now, that they just slapped a $10,000 fine on the property because of the trash around it. It's a good one.
I know they got to deal with the trash bill.
They do have.
The bank does.
They do.
Yeah. So now, that's what I'm talking about is those kinds of properties are out there that are available. So now, where do you go, how do you go find somebody? You can go find a large bulk buyer buying from an REO agent because the bank, well, he's got a relationship with the REO agent. A lot of REO agents don't know that they can go do that. But you got to get them to go ask the bank, the lender, what they've got on the books they're willing to dump. And now out of those properties, I got 1 in Pontiac, 1 in Ohio, and the rest are in Detroit. Now, how do I get rid of the ones that have had fires?
Good question. How do you?
100 down, 100 a month.
No, nobody wants them. So when I get the deal put together with the guy to sell him one here that's fairly good, I bonus him.
Bonus.
Give it to him.
Yeah, he's going to get that other house whether he wants it or not.
Bonus.
So I bundle them. So that's how I get rid of the junk. But there's a market for that, and people aren't asking. You know, I never thought you could get a free house. You got to ask. If you don't ask, you won't get it.
Now, you created now what's the benefit to the person who's coming to purchase it?
Well,
Why is the person buying?
The house I got in Pontiac is a really nice house, brand new vinyl windows. In fact, I drove and looked at the house, and I sat in the driveway for the longest time and couldn't believe that I was getting the house. And then I headed home, and then I got halfway home, I turned around and went back to look again because I said I must have wrote the address down wrong because this couldn't be real, but it was. So they just put it in the package. I don't know why. They're not going to question it.
So can you say, well, I want 10, I don't want 15?
No, I can't turn down one of them. Some of them were vacant lots. I got 2 vacant lots. Free and clear.
But you do get to look at them before you make the decision on all of them.
I went and looked at all of them, yeah.
Before you said okay.
Yeah.
But you're getting them as package deals.
Yeah, it's a package.
Yeah. So if he doesn't like one, but he likes 3, it still makes sense.
What do you think the minimum number are they gonna let go?
I don't know, this is the first batch I've got in a little while. I just started asking though.
What did you add?
Give me properties. Now every investor I meet that's dealing with REO agent, I've got them going in and asking. I've got some more coming. You gotta ask for what you want,
And the
right?
taxes and the water are paid?
I went to a bulk buyer, he's my partner in it, and I said, get the houses, they got them. So he went and said, I want them, and then they offered him all kinds of houses. He says, I turned them all down because I told them they had to be free and clear. I go, don't do that. I was doing before, but I had some relationships directly with the asset managers where I was getting them. But trust me, they've got stuff they want off their books.
How do you do that?
Ask.
Just keep in mind, the bankers eventually will have to pay the tax on it.
Well, you know, when they foreclose on something, they got it on their books. By law, they have to get it off within 12 months.
They can't really
So
have
if
it.
you've got
And then how many
assets that haven't been there too long, they've got to get them removed.
How many months?
Well,
12.
And if,
So-
what happens?
And they're in violation of federal law if they don't. They can only hold it so long. They have
What do
to
they have to do with the property?
deed it off. Find Mark Moppin, find you.
Okay.
Here I am. They actually, to be honest with you, they actually pay people to take some of the damaged properties. We had, on another batch, see, I had a problem with my bulk buyer. He had the relationship, but he was scared to death of it. They were going to write him out a check for $5,000 to take to. And I was like, take them, you know? And he was like nervous about it. So
What are you responsible?
I have never had a problem getting rid of a property. That's why I have a problem getting rid of it. I just- Anybody in this room can make me a deal right now.
And once you take the property, you're responsible for taxes and all that?
Yeah, you are. The LLC is. I
Right.
didn't take it in my name.
Okay.
So, this was a program I was talking about, joint venture, but the only thing I wanted to make is if you take no action, nothing's ever going to happen. So you got to take some action on it tonight.
Where are they let go?
I don't know, this is the first batch I've got in a little while. I just started asking though.
What did you add?
Give me properties. Now every investor I meet that's dealing with REO agent, I've got them going in and asking. I've got some more coming. You got to ask for what you want,
And the
right?
taxes and the water are paid?
I went to a bulk buyer, he's my partner in it, and I said, get the houses, they've got them. So he went and said, I want them, and then they offered him all kinds of houses. He says, I turned them all down because I told them they had to be free and clear. I go, don't do that, but it worked. So he got, under his system, he ended up with this batch that we got.
Or free and clear water?
Yeah, and then I told him I didn't want these three, and he said, nope, it's all or none, you know.
It's kind of like the house that's on fire.
But that's what, it's like, what are you going to do after? I just told you some tips here, so like, what actions are you guys going to take tonight?
I'm putting an ad on Craigslist to sell a house for $5,000, 500 down.
Oh, yeah.
I'm doing a free classified,
That's good.
and I'm contacting that REO.
That's good. And you're going to do the classifieds for the lawn mowing and that and
That's
stuff?
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
How do you figure out how to, if you've got competition on the internet and you want to get them off of there, like if my business was clock repair and then I just typed in clock repair worldwide, then the leading websites worldwide are going to come up, right? And then I'm going to look at them, I'm going to look at all their keywords,
That's right.
I'm going to look and see what they've got, and then I'm going to emulate the best, right?
Beginning of the alphabet.
But I'm in clock repair in Michigan, so I'm going to put the word Michigan in front of everything, and I'm going to make sure I list every city and community, so when somebody types in clock repair Ferndale, clock repair Bloomfield Hills, that I come up number one, but I'm going to copy what they did. And then I'm going to list every clock that I ever would work on. Like there's 40 different kinds of clocks, grandfather clocks, Seth Thomas clocks, Miller, whatever clocks.
You wanna click at that
And I'm going to
one.
list that I work on all those clocks, so if somebody types in that. So do you see how you start to do it? And if I'm going to compete in the lawn cutting business, then I'm going to look and see who's at the top worldwide for lawn cutting.
Or what else is-
Start studying their stuff. So, in fact, the class that we did on the internet marketing, the one we just did, Walter filmed every bit of it. So, like, he's got those. If you don't want to go to a class, you can just buy them directly through Walter, you know, and then watch them at home. And you'll be seeing so much immediately ill.
Is this something that you're offering, a joint venture?
I do offer this joint venture program. You can't do it on the campus. So if you're interested in that, I have a program. Everybody in that program, they paid money to be in it, but every person I have in it's getting their money back plus because of deals we've got
How much
going
is your joint
together.
venture program?
Talk to me after or whatever. So And then I'll let you talk to the people that are in that program, you know, so you can see it. So,
You call it a joint
budgetrealty.com, okay?
what?
Budgetrealty.com, we can reach you. And you got the other website.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of websites. I've got the one called the Quick Home Finder, which is designed for finding buyers. I've got another one called Detroit Investment Homes. I've got another one called MrLeaseOption.com.
Got another one, Precision Printer Services.
That was Quick Home Finder, what?
TheQuickHomeFinder.com. The Bay Store. I got all a bunch of junk. I wasn't doing this like 3 years ago, so. And then Mary showed up too. I didn't see you. Mary, if anybody knows anybody that needs any credit restoration, she's the best. She can take foreclosures off. She can take bankruptcies. She knows what she's doing. Right here, Mary Griffin. Who else didn't get to speak earlier? Harriet's a good realtor. If you, go ahead.
Hello, my name's James Adams. I work for Precision Printer Services. We sell and refurbish laser printers, and we remanufacture toner cartridges, and we sell OEM toner cartridges. We are typically 40% less than all of our competitors. We manufacture our products here in the state of Michigan. HP, Canon, they manufacture all their cartridges in China and ship them through Canada or Mexico. So we're made here in the state. We're here in the state. Some of our clients are U of M, Wayne State, Danka Services, lots of real estate agents, churches. If you have a budget, we have a printer. If you have a budget, we have toners. So if you don't have my card, please come get it after.
Go ahead.
My name's Harriet Johnson. My company's Satisfaction Realty, and some of the programs like for home, we call it for owner occupancies, you got the 203K, which works real good. And then like Mark's always talking about getting a good line of credit to buy houses, because the conventional ways of buying it, they want 5 and 10% plus. So you don't want to really do that. And, but you know, the houses are selling. Their prices are, you know, I guess that's why they're doing it, because you said they had 12 months.
Yeah.
I'm noticing their prices that were up here, and all of a sudden they just dropped. And they're moving.
I forgot to tell you guys too, on the 15th of this month, I've got a guy coming to 39,000 Schoolcraft. He's going to talk about how to get business lines of credit. He's the only guy that he's taken everybody else's course, and he gives you a step-by-step process of going through to get the business lines of credit. Pat Gage.
Yeah, so
And I've had all kinds of guys come in and speak.
Corporate credit, business credit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, these houses, these prices.
Are you talking about retail or REO or foreclosure?
The bank repos, like, I mean, I'm like this week, like 7 Mile, Wyoming area. I mean, 3-bedroom colonials, like just south of 7 Mile, like 17.9 was the list price. I mean, 25,000.
How's the retail market doing over there?
I don't know. The investors are snapping them up. They're buying them, and I'm like, you know, if you don't have a home, now is the time to buy it. But like the prices, all of a sudden they'll be up here. Then when they hit the market with the price change, it's way down here, and they're just snapping them up. Even like East Point, I'm looking in houses over there. Those houses are going. They got houses for 60, 70,000. Brick homes. I just left from East Point. You know, something that you could own or occupy.
Those houses for 17, or what you were saying, like at 7 Mile, Wyoming, what are they any, what would it appraise for?
Well, I don't know. I guess it's about at least 1,700 square foot house. 3 bedrooms.
Meaning, are there any comps over in that area that are at retail?
Well, these are the REOs, and they're just going really low right now.
Can an investor pay you for an appraisal, to do a drive-by appraisal or something like that? Yeah.
I don't know what
so
the appraisal
what would a drive-by appraisal cost?
They're probably worth about 50 to 60 in that area right now.
No, they have to be higher than that. They have to be higher.
It should be higher than that.
175?
There's a couple.
Not what's,
These
not
REOs, these foreclosures are bringing the values down.
Yeah,
Price
they
will
are.
drive by.
When
Oh,
they're-
175.
There's a couple other methods that we got.
Yeah,
If you're just trying to find out what's happening.
yeah, I know.
I'm getting into it.
So in other words, if you want to buy, my name's Harriet Johnson, you can see me afterwards.
My name is Ken Scott. I'm with Candler Scott and Wallace Real Estate Consultants. My website is CSW Real Estate. We deal with, same thing Harriet deals with as far as 203K. We deal with it on an ongoing basis. We do down payment assistance for buyers, procuring buyers, what have you. Also specialize in the neighborhood enterprise zones where you receive anywhere from 18 to 35% off your taxes if you buy as a primary residence. So we do the whole gambit. We counsel the buyers and what have you and procure the buyers.
That's one thing I want to know. And then in NEZ, what's the determining factor for that 18 to 35%?
There's a formula that the assessor's office has come up with, but at the same time, they haven't made it privy to us. But at the same time, if you go in there with the assumption that you're going to get the 18, be surprised that you get more. Because it may be based on square footage, it may be based on the lot size of the dimensions of the lot itself.
So I'm talking about as a, if there's an investment property and you got a prospective buyer, that can be a selling point.
Very
You
much
can't-
so.
Yeah, but I'm saying, how do you figure what, you don't know what the actual payments are going to be?
The most you can assume is that you're going to get the 18%. Okay, any plus over that, it's a surprise to everybody except for the assessor's office. Because when they initially started, it wasn't a formula for it.
So you're saying nobody knows?
Well, the assessor's office knows. Like I said, it's based on the square footage of the house and as well as the lot size of the area. But it's worthwhile to buy in those areas, and there are 50 of them now.
50 what?
50 neighborhood enterprise zones now across the city, east and west side. I don't think there are any on the southwest side at all.
But that's only for owner occupied.
Owner occupied, correct. And that's once the pop-up has occurred.
Once what?
The pop-up tax has occurred. The proposal A,
Oh, okay.
heavy amendment, that has to go up first and then it has to come down from there. And there's talking, Lansing about suspending the pop-up for 3 years, but it hasn't gotten to the
I'm saying
legislature.
like, so say for instance, somebody, the house was, bought like 15 years ago where the property taxes are really low.
Exactly.
And then once you purchase the house,
It's
in
gonna
a year,
adjust automatically.
it's gonna go way up.
Yeah, it's gonna adjust,
What's
and
the
then it's gonna
pop-up?
come
What do you
down.
call it, pop-up?
Proposal A. That's the school tax that allows it to go up first and then come down with the neighborhood enterprise zone.
What's the percentage it can go up?
What is it? What is it called?
Based on state equalized value.
Yeah, state equalized value, but I think it's somewhere around 5 or 10% on top of what it would have adjusted to anyway.
So it's like a cap rate?
Yeah. And the cap is removed once a person buys it, that once a person has lived in it for 15 or however many years, that pop-up is removed, and then you can utilize the neighborhood enterprise zone to bring it back down.
So you're saying there's a scenario where the NEC will not apply?
Well, there are areas in the city where it does not apply.
No, a scenario.
The scenario is if you buy the property after 1997, you're gonna have the cap removed anyway. But the neighborhood enterprise zone, depending on the area that you buy in, will allow it to go down again.
When you look at the property, it tells you what the taxable value, the state equalized value is, so you have to check each house individually. But it's right there when you check your taxes.
But it's worthwhile buying in those areas, and it's 50 of them.
Yeah.
And they range from small homes, somewhere around 1,000 square foot, all the way up to somewhere around 5,000 square feet in the city.
They created a tax break for investment if they had made more money.
Yeah, but at the same time, primary homeownership is what they're seeking. You all are getting taxed a whole lot more than they are, so when you buy it, it goes up to, I think, 85% or something like that. Then they have to come buy the house from you, which reduces it even more. But it's based on what you bought. You know, a person, pardon me?
Move in, fix it, move on. Next.
We got through everything, so any more questions?
Oh,
Oh, you're not gonna, I was looking at you.
Oh,
Did you have something else coming?
no, the other stuff was, this was all out of the other stuff I was doing. I just like if, anytime you do something, you need to give like a guarantee with it. So you guys might want to think about what are we doing with your products. So.
so how can I